When looking at the assault of the Jedi cruiser Tranquility, it really does showcase the problems with the war overall. It shows the egotism of the Jedi, the corruption of the Galactic Republic, and the ruthlessness of the Separatists. Before we get into the lightsaber battle itself, let's analyze the combatants. The first will be Jedi Master Luminara Unduli. She is perhaps one of the most egotistical Jedi, in my opinion, of this era. While it's contentious, most online resources and on-screen references show Luminara to be a master at lightsaber form 3, Sorisu. This form is known as a classical fighting style in Legends and utilized for close-quarter combat as well as providing the ability to counter blasters, which were commonly used as offensive weapons of choice at the time. The form allows the user to reserve their energy and be more fluid in their motion, allowing momentum to be built up with little effort. The Jedi Master has also been observed switching to Form 2, Makashi. The second form of lightsaber combat, it allows the user to exploit power and strength with careful, controlled strikes. These two forms appear to fit together quite well, as you can utilize Sorisu to build up momentum, and then switch to Makashi to capitalize on that momentum to strike a devastating blow. There has been some argument that Unduli additionally practiced Form 4, Ataru. This form was aggressive and relied more on the Force and acrobatics. I personally don't see any evidence that this was one of her forms. Ahsoka Tano, Padawan at the time, would be assisting the Jedi Master in this battle. It can be somewhat difficult to gauge where Ahsoka is in her training at this point, especially given that we know the Clone Wars series is not in chronological order from episode to episode. Generally, Ahsoka is most known for the Charkai method of lightsaber combat, a technique that is known for its use of dual lightsabers. However, Ahsoka is only seen wielding one lightsaber during this battle. Whether she had begun training with the Charkai method or not is unclear. Looking at her abilities within this battle, we know that she was well versed in Form 5, also known as Jemso or Shi'in. This form made her very adept at turning blaster bolts back onto the aggressor. Ahsoka was also very unconventional in her form in that she would hold the blade in reverse order versus how most Jedi handled their blades. Given what we see, I also think she probably dabbled in Form 2, Makashi. This form was specifically designed for lightsaber combat and opponents who were force sensitive. The style had a focus on defense with minimal effort and guarding against disarmament. Additionally, based on her style and that of her master, I would say that she was also versed in Form 4, Ataru. Asajj Ventress, the adversary of the Jedi, was generally always considered to be a master of Jarkai. As I've discussed, Jarkai exploits the use of 2 or more lightsabers. In Legends, Jarkai was technically a form to itself, but in reality, it simply took one of the other forms and modified it. As an example, both Niman and Ataru were commonly modified forms that a user of Jarkai would be known for. To that point, Ventress was well known for using Form 2, Makashi, as well as most likely Form 4, Ataru. While it was commented that Ventress' style was sloppy and unrefined, especially in this battle, she has a track record of defeating Jedi Masters quite often, even able to best Jedi Knight Skywalker, the Chosen One. With the principal players in the combat analyzed, let's take a look at the fight itself. While escorting Viceroy Gunray's prison, both Jedi Master Unduli and Padawan Ahsoka are charged with ensuring that he is not rescued by the Separatists. The Jedi cruiser Tranquility would be tasked with getting Gunray to his prison. Inevitably, the Jedi cruiser would be attacked and boarded by Separatist forces. Unduli ordered Ahsoka to stand guard over the Viceroy while she assisted in beating back the boarding party. After a time, Ahsoka was advised that the Jedi Master had been successful in defending against the boarding action, only to have Ventress ambush the Padawan and her guards in the detention area. The battle starts with Ventress utilizing her blades to cut a hole in the ceiling of the detention area. Ventress is able to drop down and disable 2 of the guards instantly. Ahsoka and Ventress have a bit of back and forth, and you can really see how the darkness of Anakin is slowly seeping into Ahsoka as she threatens to kill Ventress. Additionally, it can be observed that when Ahsoka becomes emotional, she switches from the more common fighting style with her lightsaber facing forward to the reverse of it in combat. Interestingly, when Ventress pushes forward, Ahsoka will switch back to having her blade in front of her as a defensive measure. As discussed, we can't be completely sure how far in her training Ahsoka is, but it appears that during this confrontation, she is doing all she can to simply defend against Ventress and not be killed. When Ahsoka orders for the guards to shoot Ventress simply blocks their bolts back onto them and uses the Force to knock out the captain. Ahsoka is only able to prevent herself from being killed due to her dexterity and lithe fighting style. Ventress easily gets past the Jedi and frees the Viceroy. Ahsoka would turn and rush forward trying to attack both, but ultimately get herself trapped in the cell. During this time, Luminara hears the fight and arrives too late, which is interesting. She's close enough to hear lightsabers crackling, but not fast enough to get there mid-battle. Those must be some hellaciously loud lightsabers. I mean, to that point, when Luminara arrives, she arrives from the turbo lift, so you're saying she was on a different level and still heard the lightsabers? Regardless, Luminara would rush forward to engage Ventress and utilize the Force to free Ahsoka. Ventress now finds herself surrounded, having to fight defensively both the Jedi Master and the Padawan. When asked to surrender, the witch pretends that she is going to give up, but it's all a ploy, activating bombs in the engine room of the ship. Ventress quickly attempts to push back Luminara and escapes while deflecting blaster bolts from the clones. In her escape, she jumps down the turbo lift shaft, using her lightsabers to slow her down. This has always been an inconsistency with lightsabers. Sometimes they will slice through something like a hot knife through butter, and others they actually show resistance. While this is wholly based on plot, we do see that the lightsabers have some resistance from metals in the original trilogy during the fight between Vader and Luke. So it's possible that some metals are able to give more resistance to lightsabers than others, or at least that's what we're going with. Ahsoka rushes to follow after Ventress, about to jump down after her, only barely being stopped by Luminara so that she isn't killed by a turbo lift. It is determined that Ventress has disabled the ship completely and the Tranquility won't be able to get assistance. Brandishing some of that fancy Jedi egotism, the Jedi Master orders the Padawan to stay behind as she can take care of a lone assassin with sloppy use of the Force herself. While I agree with this order, I don't agree with why. Luminara should have ordered Ahsoka to stay and watch Gunray to ensure that there wasn't someone else working with the assassin. You know, just in case this was all just a distraction. Because it was. The Jedi Master not wanting the Padawan to go because Luminara can handle it herself is just stupid. Now I get that maybe she wanted her to stay for the reason I suggest and thus just phrased it like she did, but again, do we really wonder how the Jedi got themselves killed with either incompetence or inarticulateness to this level? Luminara tracks Ventress down by following the dead bodies of clone troopers. Remember folks, a kid's show. She would find Ventress in a similar engineering room to the one that had been disabled. This, of course, is where the Jedi Master would be ambushed. Luminara easily would duck out of the way of the attack, but would be blinded in one eye after a trick by Ventress. The Jedi Master jumps back to regain herself and begins to fight defensively. Even with her vision partially diminished and fighting someone with two sabers, Luminara is able to fight the Darkseid user to a stalemate. The two trade verbal barbs, Ventress asking if the Force can be pushed with one's head severed and Luminara calling the Bog Witch sloppy. It would seem that this insult works in Luminara's favor as Ventress becomes enraged and begins pressing the fight, opening herself up more and more to attack. As stated, the two are ultimately only able to bring each other to a standstill. Ventress, utilizing the dark side, is countered in every way by Luminara. Both even appear to be equal in the use of the Force, as each attempt to force push the other out of the way, but only results in both being knocked back about the same distance. Ventress is only able to get the upper hand by forcing Luminara to stay on the defensive and knocking her back off the platform, then cutting several pipes in the ceiling, resulting in them falling on the Jedi Master. Even then, Luminara is able to use the Force to push most of them out of the way, with only one falling on her leg. This does cause the Jedi Master to be stuck and prone, however, and Ventress is about to give the killing blow when Ahsoka, disobeying orders, arrives and uses the Force to push the Darkseid user into a pipe. The Padawan then utilizes her lightsaber to free Luminara. Now, I do kind of want to pause a moment. These pipes are industrial grade and so large that if they had fallen on Luminara, they would have killed her. But when freed, Luminara pops up like nothing is wrong. Her leg wasn't just caught, the pipe fell on it, remember. This either shows an ability to heal massively quick using the Force or a large pain threshold for the Jedi Master. Either way, both the Master and Ahsoka engage Ventress. Outnumbered, Ventress moves to fighting defensively, using her dexterity to avoid attacks. She would ultimately jump away from the two, attempting to hide in the shadows. The Jedi would then begin a search for the witch. Ultimately, the two would be recalled as they realize they have been betrayed and Gunray is getting away. Ventress then attacks from behind, yet again getting their attention and causing a distraction. The Padawan and Master engage Ventress, the dark side user laughing maniacally as all three saber lock. Luminara and Ahsoka begin working in sync, Ahsoka providing a feint so that Luminara can come over and provide a crippling blow. Ventress again continues to fall back and uses the Force to throw various objects at them. It is painfully clear that Ventress has moved from an offensive attack to a defensive posture at this point. She is simply trying to buy time. Unfortunately, the Jedi would not see this for what it is, a ploy. As they battle, Ventress is alerted that Gunray has escaped, and then she escapes herself using a bomb to cover her tracks. This knocks the Padawan down and she is able to get away. This battle, as I stated, really highlights the faults of the Jedi and Galactic Republic. Ultimately, Ahsoka and Luminara were defeated and Gunray did escape, but this wouldn't be the last time Ventress and Ahsoka would face off. Stay tuned for more battle breakdowns during the Clone Wars era.